This changes everything. What if I told you that Bai Lu and Miles Wei met secretly late at night to discuss Shen Yue's shocking decision to walk away from Dylan Wang for good? What if that meeting wasn't just about concern, but about a hidden truth they'd been protecting all along? Stay tuned until the end because what happened in that quiet restaurant will make you question everything you thought you knew about their friendship, their loyalty, and the story that the world was never supposed to hear. It was almost midnight when the city lights began to fade into the distance. The rain had been falling softly for hours, and inside a quiet rooftop restaurant in downtown Beijing, two familiar figures sat across from each other. Bai Lu wore a simple beige coat, her hair tied back, her eyes distant as though she had been fighting thoughts she couldn't escape. Miles Wei sat opposite her, silent for the first few minutes, watching the raindrops trace slow patterns down the glass window. The air was heavy with things left unsaid. Their phones were turned face down on the table, and neither of them dared to break the silence first. Finally, Bai Lu spoke. Her voice trembled slightly as she said, "She really left, Miles. She actually left Dylan." Miles sighed, leaning back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. "I know," he said quietly. "But the question is why? Because people don't just walk away like that unless something broke inside them." Bai Lu's eyes lowered. "It wasn't sudden. She's been carrying it for a long time. The arguments, the distance, the silence between them even when the camera stopped rolling. She stayed because she hoped he'd see her. But Dylan never did." Miles leaned forward. "Do you think she's doing the right thing?" Bai Lu hesitated. "Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's survival." There was something haunting in her tone, as if she wasn't only talking about Shen Yue but about herself too. The waiter came and went silently, leaving 2 cups of untouched tea between them. The lights flickered slightly as thunder rolled outside. Miles finally spoke again, his voice lower this time. "You know, I warned Dylan. I told him that he was losing her. But he brushed it off. He said she'd never go." Bai Lu nodded slowly. "He always believed she'd wait forever." The moment hung heavy in the air. It wasn't just gossip or concern. There was an emotion deeper than friendship binding this secret meeting. Miles looked out the window, his reflection dim and thoughtful. "I just can't understand why she didn't tell anyone. She disappeared without a word." "She told me one thing before she left," Bai Lu whispered. "She said, 'Tell him I tried.' That was it. No explanation, no closure. Just that." Miles closed his eyes, his jaw tightening. "She's not coming back, is she?" "No," Bai Lu said softly. "Not this time." Outside, the rain began to fall harder, echoing the tension between them. Neither knew that someone had already captured the moment. A passerby walking by the restaurant noticed them through the glass and took a discreet picture. By morning, the image was circulating online, Bai Lu and Miles Wei seen having a serious discussion in private. Fans began to speculate wildly. Was this about Shen Yue's rumored breakup? Was Dylan Wang the reason behind Bai Lu's worried expression? The next day, social media was flooded with questions. Has Shen Yue really left for good? Why are Bai Lu and Miles Wei the only ones talking about it? And why has Dylan stayed silent through it all? Meanwhile, behind closed doors, another layer to the story was unfolding. Shen Yue had sent a message to Bai Lu before disappearing. A message that Bai Lu hadn't yet shared with anyone. It was a voice note, brief and quiet, filled with emotion. "Tell him not to look for me," Shen Yue's voice whispered through the phone. "Tell him to move on. Because I already have." Miles listened to it in silence when Bai Lu finally played it for him. His hands trembled slightly as he said, "Then it's really over." But Bai Lu shook her head. "No. Not yet. Because Dylan doesn't know what really happened." Miles turned to her, confused. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath, her eyes darkening. "There's something else, Miles. Something Shen Yue didn't tell anyone. And if Dylan finds out, everything he believes about her will fall apart." Miles stared at her, speechless. Then what are we supposed to do? Bai Lu looked out at the rain again. Protect her. Even if it means keeping the truth from him. As the video footage of their meeting leaked online, fans around the world began dissecting every frame. Some believed Bai Lu was pleading with Miles to intervene. Others said she was trying to stop him from revealing something too dangerous. The theories spiraled, each more intense than the last. What no one realized was that Shen Yue herself had already seen the footage. Somewhere far away, she watched the news play out on her phone, her eyes filled with tears she couldn't hold back. She whispered to herself, "They still care. But it's too late now." And in that moment, as her voice faded into the rain, it became clear that this was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of something far deeper, a truth that could destroy the fragile balance between love, loyalty, and regret. Bai Lu and Miles Wei's meeting wasn't a coincidence. It was a turning point. A silent decision that would determine whether the world would ever know the truth behind Shen Yue's heartbreaking departure. The air inside the quiet restaurant had turned heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The moment Bai Lu lowered her head, the entire atmosphere shifted. Miles Wei watched her closely, his jaw tightening, his voice trembling as he finally broke the silence that had been stretching like an invisible rope between them. "Bai Lu," he said softly, "you didn't call me here just to talk about Shen Yue's decision. You've been holding something back, haven't you?" She looked up slowly, her eyes glistening under the dim light. The reflection of the city skyline shimmered in her gaze. She hesitated, her fingers tracing the edge of her teacup before whispering, "I didn't want to say it, but Dylan's silence has gone too far. Shen Yue deserved honesty. And you Menglong deserved justice. Yet we're all pretending everything's fine." Miles leaned back, confusion written across his face. "What does Yu Menglong have to do with this?" he asked quietly. Bai Lu exhaled sharply, her voice now trembling. "Everything." He tried to protect Shen Yue when things got messy between her and Dylan. He knew too much. He was the one who warned her to leave before everything collapsed. And now look where we are. Shen Yue walked away, Dylan is breaking under pressure, and Menglong's truth is still buried. Miles froze, his heart pounding. So this is not just about love. It's about what's been hidden all along. Bai Lu nodded slowly. Shen Yue's decision wasn't hers alone. It was pushed. She left to protect someone she cared about, maybe more than Dylan ever realized. The moment those words left her mouth, Miles's mind raced back to all the quiet nights, the cryptic messages, the tears Shen Yue never explained. Suddenly, it all made sense. She didn't want to destroy anyone, he whispered. She was saving him. Bai Lu looked away, her voice breaking. But now it's Dylan who needs saving. He's been blaming himself. He thinks Shen Yue's leaving means he wasn't enough. But it's not that. She did it to protect him, and the secret Menglong left behind. Miles placed his hand on the table, steady but firm. Then we can't let it stay buried. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that silence can destroy faster than truth ever could. If we don't speak, someone else will, and it won't be the truth. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The clock ticked on the wall. Rain began to fall outside, soft at first, then stronger, echoing the storm building inside both of them. Bai Lu finally stood up. "There's one more thing," she said. "I received something. A letter. It was addressed to Shen Yue but sent to me instead. It's from Menglong." Miles's breath caught. "What does it say?" She hesitated, pulling out a folded envelope from her bag. The edges were worn, the ink faint but still readable. "He wrote," she began slowly, her voice quivering, "if they ever find out, tell them I never meant to disappear. I did it for them, for all of you. And when they finally understand, I hope it's not too late." The words lingered in the air like a ghost. Miles lowered his head, his voice breaking as he said, "He knew this would happen. He tried to warn us." Bai Lu wiped a tear from her cheek, forcing herself to remain composed. "We've been living in a cycle of silence for too long, Miles. First Shen Yue, now Dylan, and Minglong's shadow hanging over everything. It has to end. Miles nodded firmly. Then we end it. No more secrets. No more half-truths. We tell the world exactly what happened, all of it. Just then, Bai Lu's phone buzzed. A message appeared on the screen, one that made her heart drop. It was from Dylan. I know where she is. We need to talk. Now. Her hands trembled. Miles, she whispered, he found her. Miles stood, grabbing his jacket. Then let's finish what they started. If there's still a chance to make things right, we take it. As they rushed out into the rain, the streetlights flickered like fading stars. The sound of thunder rolled in the distance, echoing the storm that was about to break, not just in the sky, but in the hearts of everyone connected to this tangled story of love, loss, and justice. Hours later, they arrived at an abandoned film studio, the place where Shen Yue once shot her final scene with Dylan before walking away for good. The air was thick with nostalgia and pain. Dylan stood in the middle of the empty set, soaked from the rain, staring at an old script in his hand. When he turned, his eyes met Bai Lu's. They said nothing. They didn't need to. Everything they had all lost was written in that silence. Miles stepped forward. She didn't leave because she stopped caring, Dylan. She left because she was protecting you, and Minglong. Dylan's lips parted, his voice breaking. I know. I read his letter too. Bai Lu's heart stopped. You what? He looked up, tears streaming down his face. It arrived this morning. The same one you have. He sent us both the truth. Miles looked between them, realization dawning. He planned this, every word, every clue. He wanted us to find each other again. Dylan dropped the script. Then we owe him one thing. Justice. Not for what happened, but for why it did. The three of them stood together, united by grief but bound by purpose. The rain outside began to ease, replaced by a soft glow of dawn creeping through the broken windows. The light fell across Minglong's last written words, still faintly visible on the paper. And as the morning broke, so did their silence. If this story moved you, if you believe that some truths deserve to be told no matter how painful they are, make sure to subscribe and join our journey. Because this isn't the end, it's just the beginning of what Minglong stood for.